The feds are going to solve the Tupac case because they know the details that Mike Tyson has about Kefi D and Diddy. They've been looking at this thing for 27 years and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, because after all, the rappers like Snoop Dogg and everybody from Ice Cube in LA started actually distancing themselves from everybody that has something to do with Tupac. This has been a long time in the making, man, because this case went cold. A lot of people didn't think that they was going to come back and actually pick it back up. This is the reason why Kefi D and everybody got way too comfortable, man. They started talking about it and everything. And the reason why the $1 million got brought up is because the people that was actually hit up Tupac didn't get paid the $1 million. The middleman guy that was supposed to be in between actually took off and ran away from it. That's why everything blew out of proportion and out the water. This is the reason why Diddy made the mistake by not actually making sure that everything went through. And this is why karma is coming back to bite them, because at the end of the day, they're going to get justice for Tupac. If y'all rocking with Tupac and you want justice for Tupac, put the 222s down in the comment section, man. Subscribe to the channel, because everybody knows at this point that Tupac case is the biggest in hip-hop history. And when they find out exactly how this whole thing went down, how they set Tupac up, they paid the $1 million bounty on his head. They actually had dudes, because if you really been paying attention, you know Diddy knows pretty much half the guys that was in that car that hit up Tupac. Diddy already knows them, and that's the connection that the feds needed to actually put everything on the move. This is why after all these years they came back out again, because the new information, the new details, the fact that they spoke with Mike Tyson, they spoke with that retired LAPD dude Greg Caden. He's the one that actually knew and was talking to Kefi D and everything, trying to set up the guy that had the $1 million from Diddy. That's why everything is coming back. Diddy responded. He spoke out. He said he's not worried about nothing like that. Maybe he might have took a plea deal. He might have took an agreement just like Kefi D did back in the day. And so at the end of the day, they still got to find the guy who actually gave the check to Diddy's homeboy, Big Zip. They still got to find the dude who actually gave the strap and everything like that. When Kefi D said that he the one that handed the strap to Orlando, he actually snitched on himself for that. He should have never said that, because that resurrected more charges. He might have told that to the feds or the police or whatever in that agreement he had, but he should have never told Vlad that. He told him in the agreement, but he should have never told Vlad, because that's a different circumstance and a different time. They could actually use that against you. Man, this was a big slip up. These dudes were free for 27 years and actually were almost just about to get away with setting up and hitting up Tupac and taking him down. But now, because of the karma, because of their mistakes, because everything catches up with them, and they thought they had it in the bag. They thought they really had this thing beat. They didn't think 30 years down the road that they were going to come back and actually pursue them. They found new information. They went and talked to dudes who back then were way too scared to talk. Mike Tyson was a boxer. After Kefi D came out with that interview on Art of Dialogue, and he actually called out Mike Tyson. He sent Mike Tyson a message. He sent shots at Mike Tyson saying that you got to stick to boxing. Don't say nothing about nothing. Don't even talk to me or nothing like that. So what exactly does Mike Tyson know that's going to be able to actually put the fans onto a lot more details, man? So this is what everyone know. Everybody came down to Vegas at that Mike Tyson fight. When Tupac was in the MGM lobby and they seen Orlando Anderson, they seen that whole crew, they stomped him out. Tupac felt like Mike Tyson at that moment. And so this is what made them be like, wait, Tupac, he not a gangbanger. He's always riding with Suge, and we know Suge's guys are really the ones who have the crew. But at the end of the day, we can't let somebody that's not even part of the clique, and they got a rivalry between Suge and the other group that was in the car. And so when they heard that Tupac was the one that jumped the dude and stomped him out right there in front of MGM, like the whole entire tourist saw everything. So people was going back to their respective states and countries like, yeah, we just seen this dude get stomped out by Tupac. So he didn't want to live with that. Orlando didn't want to live with being the guy that got stomped out by Tupac and not doing anything about it. He couldn't have that street cred. He couldn't have that reputation, because that would bring him down. People would start trying him now, thinking it's sweet. So when he went and told his uncle, hey, Tupac was the one that actually stopped me out, Kefi D's his uncle. So Kefi D's thinking like, wait, Tupac did that to you? Oh, and he got $1 million on his head? Let's go. Let's ride. This is when they jumped into the Cadillac, man. And the whole chase started happening from the MGM down to Koval Lane. Suge was driving, but he didn't know people was following him like that. They had all the Mob James. They had everybody behind them. They had a whole caravan of dudes behind the actual Tupac car. They were not alone. So why didn't the dudes that was following like jump out and actually like spray the whole thing out? They didn't have switches back. They didn't have none of that stuff back then. So people were moving like slow. Like this whole thing was basically a crazy scene. And when they seen them girls that seen Tupac, a lot of people was thinking, man, how did them girls just give away Tupac like that, man? This is why they should have been riding with the window up. Tupac should have never been sticking his arms out the window or his head out the, whatever it is. They try to make it seem like Tupac was lacking, like he was in a parade. That's what Kefi D tried to say. So I know a lot of that stuff is actually sneak dissing. A lot of that stuff that they've been saying about Tupac in these interviews, they've been sneak dissing, man. They try to say when they seen Tupac get hit, he was breakdancing. Like, come on, man, y'all sneak dissing. I could see that from a mile away. They really trying to throw a lot of shade on Tupac. So this is why the karma is going to hit them hard. This is why the feds are actually going to get this whole thing solved, is because they keep bragging about hitting up Tupac. They keep like throwing shade. They keep throwing in these little disses and showing that they have no respect for Tupac at all. They not respecting, they still dissing the dead. This is what Gucci Mane told a lot of people not to do. And so this is the reason why this whole thing got brought back around, because they started going to all of these places speaking on the business of an open case. You can't do that. If somebody robbed a bank and they went on Vlad and talk about, yeah, I robbed this bank 30 years ago, they gonna come and get you for that. What do these people think, man? Whatever amount of money that Vlad could have or could not have offered, it's not worth actually going on there and speaking on an open case that you yourself are involved in. It's different when you just talking about the news from somewhere in a whole different location and you got nothing to do with it at all. And so, but then when you was actually a suspect, they almost indicted you. They brought you in so many times. The only reason that they didn't actually get you was because all the other witnesses is gone. They all deceased. This is a 30-year-old case. But on the 27th year of actually almost getting away with it, the dude spills the beans and tells it to 30 million people on the internet. And out of the 30 million people, the Fed saw it. Out of all them 30 million views from Kefi D doing the interviews and everything like that, it only took one Fed to catch on to that. And that's why they're in the situation that they're in right now. Because this whole thing goes back to why they should have never messed with Tupac. They should have left Tupac alone a long time ago. They would have never ended up having to deal with losing their freedom and everything. As a matter of fact, a lot of these dudes is lucky that they never got caught earlier for the Tupac. They had 30 years to be on the run. 27 years of doing whatever they wanted, knowing in the back of their head that they was wrong for that. They was wrong for what they did to Tupac. And they couldn't sleep at night with that on their mind, I'm sure. And so now all them nightmares of them getting caught up, it finally happened, man, because you know they was thinking about that one day where that one little piece of information they thought that they shouldn't have got out, it got out, and it did go to the people that you didn't want it to go to. And it's all your fault because the guy came on to the interview with in front of a camera, lights, camera, action. Vlad, I guess he didn't do his research on what happens when you go on Vlad with an open case and you speak on it. Sooner or later, the investigators are going to be knocking at your door with a microphone talking about, we need them statements that you said. As a matter of fact, they already got him. And so this is why they try to use the Vlad interviews. They let it go on. Vlad posted the first Kefi D interview 5 years ago. That's when the feds first seen it. They could have really went and got him then, but they waited. They like, wait, if he's going to go on Vlad, let's wait until he goes on another one and another one and another one. And he kept giving more and more info. He gave info about the weapon, the strap that he handed off. He said some things that the feds was actually trying to figure out. They're like, ooh, he never told us this. He only told us like the bare minimum for us not to look into it more. But he said he passed it to the dude and that Diddy had $1 million. Like, this is some breaking info that they had to go and get him. He basically was asking for them to come and get him again. And this is something that you cannot be doing, man. So we know that this slip up is the ghost of Tupac. Tupac looking down. He laughing right now. Tupac is laughing, rolling at the fact that these dudes was dumb enough to go on a public interview and what has the most, like the platform with the biggest thing. And he spoke on the open case that he himself was involved in, talking about he handed the strap to the dude that shot him. Man, that's a lesson on self-snitching 101. Stop the self-snitching. Stop telling on yourselves. Give yourself a chance at least. Let them do the work instead of you actually telling on yourself. And this is the reason why a lot of these dudes that's out here in the streets running around doing all this BS, they actually not doing what they supposed to do. This is how they think. They not really that sharp, and that's why they gotta actually stoop down to the level that they got to, because anybody that's smarter than this would know to, if you at least did it and that was your past and you can't change your past, maybe he was young and being dumb, you know, we could move on from that. But you got to get mature and realize that you can't be telling on yourself for all the things that you did back then, and there's no statute of limitations on it. He took an agreement, but that agreement is not an immunity. There's two different things, man. Immunity, there's universal lateral immunity. They'll tell you that. You would know if you had that. He didn't have that. So the fact that he spoke on it, it was still an open case. It was a closed case. Closed case doesn't mean that they're not going to look at it. That just means, or cold case. A cold case just means that it ain't nothing heating up about it, but it could always warm up. But it ain't the same thing as a closed case. So he must have thought that this whole thing was too long or something like that. He thought that he could get up on there and say the things, but ultimately it all backfired on him. And now we're looking at, are they going to RICO Bad Boy Records and Diddy? Let me know what y'all think. Subscribe to the channel if you're rocking with Tupac.